After months of talk, it's finally crunch time. This week we debate the pros and cons of streetcar expansion in Kansas City, just ahead of Tuesday's election. Plus, we review the key questions and races on your ballot on both sides of state line. Welcome everyone, delighted to have you with us again. I'm Nick Haynes. Yes, it's been a big week in Kansas City, a week that saw the president in town, speaking at the Uptown Theater, eating Arthur Bryant's barbecue and going for an impromptu walkabout in downtown Parkville. It was also a week that saw Governor Nixon launch an independent inquiry at UMKC after the Star alleged a trail of inflated numbers and misstatements designed to boost rankings at the Block School of Business. I haven't even broached City Hall's ban on the open carrying of guns, but we are in election mode this week and we're debating streetcar expansion. In 2012, voters approved in a restrictive mail-in election a 2-mile starter line from the River Market to Union Station. Now voters are being asked at the ballot box whether to approve a larger streetcar expansion for a route that would extend as far south as UMKC, with additional routes along Independence Avenue and Linwood Boulevard and a max rapid bus line along Prospect. What you'd be voting for Tuesday is not any taxes, but the setting up of a special transportation district. If you say yes, a second election will be held in November that would go through the nuts and bolts of how to pay for the streetcar expansion project. Here to convince you to vote yes, the Mayor Pro Tem of Kansas City, Councilwoman Cindy Circo, and political consultant Marcus Leach. On the no side, attorney Sherry DeJanes and Show Me Institute economist Patrick Ishmael. Councilwoman Circo, help us out to begin with, though. Why, when we haven't even laid all the tracks yet for that starter line, are we now moving forward with a streetcar expansion?
Well, and that starter line is already showing huge success and support. And then we're seeing the economic development that is happening with our targeted focus of where we need to build density in this city to create a tax base that continues to serve this entire city. And to bring those neighborhoods that are closest and most in need to connect all of that together is why we're moving on with the project.
What economic development are we seeing there?
We have a list already that has shown that, that has been able to, along with all of our other progressive planning and targeting, this has also created the economic development, the street line, and the excitement that's happening with that. And yes, everyone's going to debate on how they got here, when they got here, and how they started, but there is very clear evidence.
I should be clear also at the very beginning, Marcus, that not everybody in Kansas City, Missouri is going to go to a polling station on Tuesday and have a chance to vote on this streetcar election, are they?
Absolutely. The Transportation Development District was designed to, benefit those who are most likely to benefit from it. Studies have shown if you live within a third of a mile of streetcar line that your value of your property is likely to increase over the life of that line there. So it's only fair to impose the assessment on those houses. But what we're really talking about here is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We have an administration that is willing to invest federal dollars in multimodal forms of transportation. We're talking about a chance for our city to unlock hundreds of millions of dollars in federal funding for upgrading the bus services and extending the streetcar lines that if we don't move forward at this time, we don't know what future administrations might do and whether those funding sources will be available.
So, Sherry DeJanes, what's not to like?
Well, there's not much to like, in my opinion. We've got the funding mechanisms, which, as you mentioned, are not going to be voted on August the 5th, but are very definitely in evidence. We've got the whole issue of whether or not there really has been transparency in developing the numbers that have been put out there in terms of increased ridership, increased jobs, that sort of thing. We've got all kinds of costs that are not included in the $500 million estimate that has been put forth by the city and those consultants they've worked with. And those are what they call an order of magnitude cost. They're not even detailed estimates. They leave out so much that we're going to have a real shock if we vote this in and it actually materializes as
But Marcus is talking about this is a moment in time that the federal government has money that they could match for Kansas City. And if Kansas City doesn't go now for this election and doesn't approve this now, that money will go to other cities.
That's a presumption. There are other cities that have applications out for that money, but who are we to say that that money's not going to be available? These are speculations based upon the administration. Now, if we end up with another Democratic administration, who's to say that money's going to go away? But that's exactly what they're relying on, a scare tactic. We've got in Obama now, we've got all kinds of federal money, but that money's been available for years. There's no reason to think it's going to go away.
The campaign materials say that this requires a 50% match of federal money. What if you don't get that 50% match, Marcus?
Nick, first of all, if it comes from the administration, it's not speculation. You know, the FTA makes a decision on this. This is them giving us their word that Kansas City scores well with its Transportation Development District. And simply put, if we don't get the federal funds, we don't impose the taxes. So you have nothing to lose here. You know, this is an opportunity to direct those dollars here and thousands of new jobs. And we're not speculating these things. You know, we're going to hear Patrick talk about there's no studies or data to support this, but we've brought countless studies that have shown real estate development, and we've had development partners from all over the country come to Kansas City and in the paper recently say the reason we're here and doing this project is a streetcar. You know, this is from the horse's mouth. There's decades of empirical data to suggest that when you bring the streetcar, it brings the density and that brings the economic development, and that's where we're at in Kansas City, that chance to build around.
Now, how do we know what Patrick would say? Because I haven't heard him open his mouth yet. Is that what you would have said, Patrick?
Well, that's part of what I would say.
Okay,
and what I would say is there are two main problems with a streetcar plan. The first one is that it is not, transit-oriented development is not a driver of growth. And I don't know what particular studies he's looking at, but when you look at the literature, there's been a lot of bad information put out there about how streetcars are just a wonder kind of project, and they really aren't. What you find is that it's the subsidies that go around them. You can basically build anything in the middle of it or drop $1 billion any place, and the conclusion that the proponents would say is that, oh, look, streetcar works, but that's not really what's
But
going
Cindy
on.
Serko lifted up an impressive-looking document that she was showing to the camera a little earlier, showing all of these economic developments that were coming up based on just the streetcar line downtown.
Well, I think if you plow too much into those, I think you'd find some very different conclusions that you could make from that. And in addition to that, I would also say one other point. You have the economic side, but you also have something that I think is a moral component to it. And the moral component is this. The city over the last couple of decades has, I think, decided to create a preferred area downtown, and it's at the expense of lots of neighborhoods outside of it. And I think that's a real problem.
Why are we actually choosing the route we are? Can we put the map back up here? I mean, we have this downtown starter line already approved. That's already done deal. Mm-hmm. We're going from the River Market to Union Station. We can get our arms around that. Now we're looking to go up to UMKC. Now we got this Linwood to Independence line. Why did we choose those routes?
Well, we chose downtown to go from a sea of parking lots to a vibrant, active downtown, and that density is growing. It is proven time and time again, and we're doing it with every single infrastructure project that we have. If we're spending a city dollar, let's target it, invest it. We did that downtown. We saw that growth. Now we're expanding from that. We have neighbors adjacent to downtown that are prime living space for people that need targeted investment so those neighborhoods can grow, to vitalize those neighborhoods for the people currently living here, to give them access to their jobs, to their places of shopping and playing. And that growth then continues out, much like we always said. We target our investments, and then it grows and grows and grows. If we do not create that density downtown, then those areas in the farther sides of the city continue to need services that are difficult to provide without the density.
Sure. Are you philosophically opposed to streetcars or where this route is actually going?
I'm philosophically opposed to the route. I'm also opposed to using 19th century technology for 21st century advancement. I hear all kinds of things about let's modernize, let's bring Kansas City up to date. This is not the means by which to do it.
You know, there was a letter in the Star this week from a gentleman who said, why not take these funds and buy the best buses and have a complete, up-to-date bus fleet, the newest and the best? What if the rail route ridership shifts? You can't take up the rails and move them, but you can flex an entire bus fleet. So why not, Marcus?
The simple answer is that the federal funds are no longer used for those very smart small bus routes. You know, the federal government has indicated a willingness to expand multimodal bus rapid transit with the MAX lines in combination with the streetcars. So this isn't Kansas City dollars where if we don't spend here, we can spend doing other things. But we've also seen that a streetcar, it costs less and it's more efficient to operate than a bus route over the life of the vehicle. You know, it's one of those things where a bus gives you a 40 passenger capacity, whereas a streetcar will get 120 riders. And it's not about choosing one or the other, because all the data, even the most conservative numbers, show that the addition of a streetcar system increases overall ridership by 19%. That's the conservative side. Most cities see a 35% increase, and Kansas City over the last 2 years, our density has increased. We've seen 8,000 residents move from outside and suburbs back into Central City, and this is why our application with the federal government makes most sense. It's more appealing. You know, these are areas that are in need. You know, we have 7,500 riders on Prospect today, another 5,000 on Main Street, 2,500 on Linwood at Independence. This is giving those folks, you know, a more efficient and a chance of getting to work, but also building out their neighborhoods with the jobs that come from the economic development, the building the rails, and the stores that come from the neighborhoods. You know, we have developers telling us, you know, he can throw studies at you, I can throw studies at you, but I've shown you quotes from developers who are putting their money up tens of millions of dollars now because of the streetcar specifically.
Nick, if I may, I'd really like to address some of these things. He threw out the 19% figure. What they are basing the figures on in this study is one streetcar approximately per mile, so that's 8. You look at their studies, and they are actually basing this increase on ridership on between 9 and 14 streetcars. That's either leaving out money on the front end or fudging the numbers on the back end. When you get to an increase in jobs, as they have done in their nice, slick flyer, they refer you to a study, and that study is an actual rail transit policy study, which I have here with me today. It has almost exactly the quote that appears in their flyer, but it refers you to another study. And that study is actually a study that is estimating important transportation-related economic relationships in Bexar County, Texas. And the purpose of that study was to estimate mileage-related operating expenditures on public bus transit and automobile travel in Bexar County. These are fudged numbers. These do not work out for Kansas City, and we better look behind. It's rather like an onion. When you go to the market and you buy it and it looks really good, and then you peel off a couple of layers and then you see the rot. That's what we've got here.
Nick, this is very important. I'm sorry to dominate the conversation, but I've seen her passing this study out before. So as you see, I brought the same study here today, and the executive summary, the findings are clear. First, this indicates that rail transit systems provide economic, social, and environmental benefits, and these benefits tend to increase as the system expands and matures. It examines criticisms of rail transit investments, finding that many are based on an inaccurate analysis. She pulled out a quote from a criticism of the streetcar, but the overall findings are that economic increases, environmental increases, and more importantly, the data that they use to suggest that there will be no increase in ridership is flawed because it doesn't address the new census data from 2010 about the density in the cities that streetcars are going in.
What I pulled out was a quote they used in their own flyer.
Let's move on from that. One of the big issues here is, what is the tax burden going to be on citizens who are going to be in this transportation district? And while we're not voting at this point in time, this is only for the expansion of the transportation district, there will be taxes involved in this come November, Patrick.
That is likely at this point. You're looking at a levy around the actual line itself that's going to be on property owners, and there's going to be a sales tax in the TDD itself. And I think that when you look at the actual lines of the TDD, it's also very interesting who's included in it and who's not included in it. Because you have the east side that's included as part of this vote, but you don't necessarily have other parts of the city like Waldo or Brookside that are. And I think part of that's probably because folks in Brookside weren't real happy with this kind of a proposal. And so I think that they were removed from it because the writing was kind of on the wall on that. So, but yeah, in the district itself, there are going to be taxes, both sales and property, and I think it's going to hurt areas, including where I was born and raised in Northeast Kansas City and the East Side, and that's bad news for Kansas City.
Can I speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely, Cindy.
Brookside was taken out because it was a community process. It wasn't the rail itself, it was where it was laying. And so we listened to the community and we addressed it. 35% of Ivanhoe neighborhood residents do not have cars, don't have cars. So it is a social issue also. We're addressing a social need, and that is part of government's role is to give good, productive, usable transportation. And that is what we're doing. But when you do it with a bus line, you don't get the same benefit. And my mantra has always been, if I'm gonna spend one tax dollar, I gotta get multiple benefits that's going to address my community that I serve with that one tax dollar. And that's what's happening with that. So we're addressing the need. So if you have to buy a car and you live in Ivanhoe, that cost to you is going to be greater than what it's going to cost you to have the rail.
Marcus, what if voters say no on August 5th, on Tuesday?
We are extremely confident that voters are going to support this and we move forward to November. But I mean, it's going to be an opportunity where we need to reassess. You know, we've already made a decision to move forward with the starter line, and no one completes a transportation infrastructure improvement with just the starter line. You know, Kansas City, we know we are decades behind Denver and St. Louis when it comes to public transportation. We often have these outside voices from St. Louis and outside of the district telling us what's best, but what we know is that, let me address the tax issue, 95% of the taxes collected come from 3 areas. It comes from downtown, the plaza, and the stadiums, and that's the largest investment in the poorest parts of this city from those dollars in the city's history.
What if voters say no?
What if they say no? Then we will try to come up with a plan to improve the public transit that is available to Kansas City. I represent Smart KC, supporters of modern, affordable regional transit. We think there needs to be a different solution. We'll work towards that as hard as we can.
Encouraging you to vote yes on Tuesday, Kansas City Mayor Pro Tem Cindy Serco and political consultant Marcus Leach. Advising you to vote no, attorney Sherry DeJames and Show Me Institute economist Patrick Ishmael. Thank you all for being with us on this special election edition of Kansas City Week in Review. Streetcars are just one of the issues on Tuesday's ballot. If you live in Missouri, you may be spending quite a lot of time at your local polling station with 5 constitutional amendments for you to decide, from expanding the lottery to a right to farm and a gun rights amendment.
Let's be really clear what this is all about. This is a political move by Republicans who control the General Assembly to put lots of ballot issues on the ballot, appealing to lots of varied interests, including gun rights folks and farmers, rural folks, meaning Republicans, to get them to show up at the polls when typically turnout is very low.
Supporters of Amendment 1 say it simply guarantees farmers the right to engage in their livelihood without too much meddling from government and animal rights groups. Opponents say it'll help large corporate farms and could block state laws on water and air pollution.
It seems like the only thing everyone seems to be able to agree on is that ultimately it's going to be a judge that decides what this constitutional amendment means.
Backers of Amendment 5 say it'll strengthen the rights of Missourians to bear arms. Opponents say it's redundant and will make it more difficult to regulate guns. Proponents call Amendment 7, the Missouri transportation tax, a crucial vote to improve highways, bridges, and transit in the state. The 3/4-cent sales tax hike would largely fund the rebuilding and expansion of I-70 from Kansas City to St. Louis. In our area, there's also a pot of money for a new Broadway bridge and $124 million to expand the Kansas City streetcar project. Opponents call it the largest tax increase in Missouri history.
This is going to place a considerable burden on the very people that you're concerned about. This level of tax increase on a standard market basket of taxable goods would cost about $90 a year.
Let's compare it to what the opponents are saying we should do. If you raise the gas tax 18 cents, which is at least the amount you'd have to raise it, you're going to burden those low-income families far more than a 3/4-cent sales tax.
Okay. Amendment 8 expands the Missouri lottery to allow veterans' homes in the state to benefit from the proceeds, but critics question, what does that do to schools who currently benefit from lottery money? Amendment 9 adds your cell phone, your computer, and your laptops to the list of items protected from unreasonable search and seizure by police. Now, supporters say it's a logical update to the state constitution. Critics say the U.S. Supreme Court recently addressed this issue, and changing the Missouri Constitution is simply unnecessary. Over in Kansas, voters will be deciding whether they want to keep Pat Roberts as their United States Senator. He's being challenged for the Republican nomination by Tea Party candidate Milton Wolfe. Roberts has refused every debate opportunity. Wolfe appeared here a couple of weeks ago.
We've crossed paths a few times on the campaign. He's done everything he can, I think, to avoid me. I sure wish he would debate. You know, I think Kansans deserve to hear from anyone who would represent them or hope to represent them. But he doesn't want to answer the difficult questions, and I think that's unfortunate for voters.
Also being decided Tuesday, who should lead Johnson County government? Does Ed Eilert deserve 4 more years?
We have saved taxpayers about $40 to $45 million in the last 3 or 4 years. We have maintained our AAA bond rating. Our finances are sound.
The critical message of my campaign is that the county for several years has become stagnant, it's standing still, and consequently we're falling behind.
I'm not part of the establishment, but I do come with a background in government affairs. And so I would be the one that would lead the county to be more conservative fiscally, would look more to get rid of the waste.
There are some races you may not have paid any attention to if you live in Kansas. One of them is the race for Kansas Insurance Commissioner, which has 5 Republicans vying to succeed fellow Republican Sandy Prager, who has decided not to seek re-election. Jim McLean is here from the KHI News Service in Topeka. Why should we care about this race, Jim? Is the Insurance Commissioner's race a big yawn?
Well, listen, Nick, it has been in past years, but as we all know, health care has taken center stage in recent years with the passage of the Affordable Care Act at the federal level. And the Insurance Commissioner in Kansas, regulates insurance companies, licensed insurance companies, makes sure that they're financially solvent, and helps sort out consumer disputes. And so whoever's sitting in that chair who heads that insurance department, and Sandy Prager's now been there for 3 terms, is going to have a lot to say about how the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare is implemented in the state of Kansas. So there's a spotlight shining on this race, at least this year.
And we shouldn't forget that Kathleen Sebelius, who we also know, of course, was the insurance commissioner at one time in history.
That was her launching pad to the Obama cabinet, right? I guess governor in between. But.
Yes. So tell us about, we have 5 candidates to sort out here. How do we do that as voters?
Well, they're not all that different in some respects. All 5 of them are, quote unquote, opposed to Obamacare and would go to varying lengths to either impede its implementation in the state or to pretend like it doesn't exist. All 5 of them, Bev Gossage, for instance, is one of the candidates, and she's generally speaking from the Kansas City area, lives near DeSoto, in a rural area there. But she has signed a petition to repeal Obamacare. The Insurance Commissioner of the state of Kansas, of course, can't do that. Nevertheless, Sandy Prager, in recent years, has been very aggressive about consumer education when it comes to that federal law. And Gossage and some of the other candidates say they would pull back from that, and they wouldn't do nearly so much to educate consumers and help consumers, navigate the federal marketplace. So Bev Gossage is one candidate. Clark Schultz is another candidate. Clark has been in the Kansas legislature for 18 years. 10 sessions he chaired the House Insurance Committee, and so he says it's his policy experience that separates him from the field. He's also opposed to Obamacare, but he's more measured in his criticism of it. Ken Seltzer from Leawood, he's been on the Fairway City Council. Again, very conservative, very much opposed to Obamacare, says the answer to pretty much all consumer problems when it comes to insurance is simply creating more competition in the insurance marketplace.
John Toplica, I see, is one of the candidates. He's on the Johnson County Commission.
He is, and a former legislator as well. We did a series of interviews with all of these candidates trying to do some profiles for our news service, and John didn't want to be interviewed about it. But then again, he joins the rest in being, quote unquote, opposed to Obamacare. He called it a clear and present danger to the nation's economy and said he would want to, quote unquote, demolish it.
Now, some people will say, oh, well, this is just a Republican primary. We still have a general election.
That's right.
But in Kansas, a lot of these races are actually decided at the primary level in the Republican primary, aren't they, Jim?
Yes, that's true very much, particularly these down ballot races. Insurance Commissioner, Secretary of State, and some of these others that don't get a lot of attention, particularly when there's a governor's race that year, and U.S. Senate race, which commands all the public attention, jams the airwaves with commercials. But this year, I think, really all bets are off. This is a very different election year because Governor Sam Brownback is running for re-election, and he, of course, is the first conservative to hold that office, and he has conservative allies who control both the House and the Senate in Topeka. But it's created a real contest, I think, among Republicans, the moderate wing of the party and the more conservative wing of the party. Just recently, about 100 moderate Republicans came out and endorsed the Democrat in the governor's race. I think that will have could have some of a ripple effect going down the ballot into this insurance commissioner's race. As it happens, the Democrats wanted to make sure they had a viable candidate lined up for the general election, and a gentleman by the name of Dennis Anderson from Overland Park is running unopposed as a Democrat for insurance commissioner, and he very measured in his approach to the Affordable Care Act. He doesn't want to defend it. But he has come out for Medicaid expansion, which again sets him apart from all the Republicans in the field.
Now, also being decided Tuesday is the office of Kansas Secretary of State. Chris Kobach has drawn a Republican opponent, Scott Morgan from Lawrence. What do we know about him, and why should we care about this race, Jim?
Well, again, very important because the Secretary of State in the state of Kansas, he takes all the corporate filings and puts them in the right drawer, and he handles all of that. But he also manages elections in the state of Kansas. And Chris Kobach, as you know, has burst onto the national scene. He's helped write a lot of laws across the country that are aimed at, quote unquote, fighting voter fraud. And they're very controversial laws because some people, of course, think that they very much restrict people's ability to vote and to be registered. So he's become a controversial candidate in part because all the national spotlight that's been on him. And Scott Morgan of Lawrence ran for Congress several years ago. Again, is in that moderate wing of the Republican Party. He doesn't want to be a Democrat. He wants to remain a Republican. So he's challenging Kobach in the Republican primary and drawing that line again between the conservative and the moderate wings of the party. And again, there's been a lot of news coverage of it. You won't see a lot of advertising on television. But I think filtering down into the folks who vote in primary elections, I think this is a pretty vigorous contest.
Okay, Jim McLean is executive editor of the KHI News Service in Topeka. Thanks for being with us, Jim.
You bet, Nick. Glad to be here.
And that's our Week in Review. Election Day, Tuesday. Full analysis of what happened from our team of reporters next week. I'm Nick Haynes from all of us here at KCPT. Thanks for spending part of your weekend with us.